with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What's going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. We got 7 games here on the DraftKings main slate. It is Thursday. I believe we probably have some national television games here this evening, right, James? Usually the Thursday slates.
Yep.
Some big names here on this slate as well. Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, Stephen Curry, De'Aaron Fox, Jason Tatum. Should be a great night of basketball here.
Yeah, your Celtics Heat is
go.
the 7:30, and then I do find it hilarious, like this slate, and we talked about having the 10 p.m. games on the slate last night, but we didn't talk about the jump. The first 5 games of the slate are either 7 or 7:30 p.m. Then there's a 10 p.m. and a 10:30 p.m. game. So I just think that like that decision to keep this like for both sites, because yesterday FanDuel had excluded the 9:30 or 9 o'clock and the 10 p.m. games. And then both sites were like, you know what would be a great idea? If instead, in not including these games, since we've been doing that randomly throughout the last month, we actually put the games that start 2.5 and 3 hours after the 7:30 window on the slate. I think that this needs to come to a stop. We need to make a decision whether to do it permanently or don't do it, because I'm okay with it. But like tomorrow, we might not have, because it's Friday's always a big slate, we might not have the 10 p.m. games. I'm getting sick of it. Just make a decision whether to keep the late night window or to get rid of the late night window. But if there was ever time to get rid of the late night window, it's this one with 2.5 hours and 3 hours kicking off at 7:30. So I just wanted to get that a little out there. I think that is a hilarious continuing like thing that these sites can't figure out whether they want to do, whether they want to keep it or not. But it's an interesting slate nonetheless. A bunch of teams on a back-to-back. What's Joel Embiid going to do? Of course, 10:30 game features LeBron and AD, both questionable.
For sure. Just taking a look at some of the top matchups here, and our guy Sean Mitchell has that playbook already out for all of you over on Fantasy Alarm. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, you can go over there, fantasyalarm.com/win. Check out our offerings. We got an annual and monthly subscription that you can all try out there. The annual sub is 40% off the month-to-month price there. So, you get a little bit of a discount if you sign us up for the next year. It's not just NBA content, but all content that goes behind the paywall: NBA, NHL, MMA, PGA, MLB is right around the corner. NASCAR, we have the 3-time Racing Writer of the Year, Matt Sells, doing our NASCAR DFS content. So a lot of content still here at Fantasy Alarm, even though the NFL season is winding down. So you sign up, you get the NFL season included next year with your annual sub. So check it out. Coming over here, looking at this 7-game main slate, we talked about some notable matchups. Philadelphia 76ers on the road here against the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers getting 5.5 points as a home underdog. That is a 240.5 game total, up from 237 at the open. We have Utah versus Washington. Washington, a 7.5 point home underdog. That totals up to 246. Minnesota, Brooklyn. Brooklyn's getting 4 points as a home underdog. It's a 217 total there. Boston, Miami. An 8-point home underdog, 224 game total in that one. Denver, New York Knicks here getting 2 points as a home underdog, 222.5 total there. Sacramento, Golden State, a 2-point home underdog in the second leg of a back-to-back for them, 243 total in that one. And then our last game on the slate, Chicago versus LA, Lakers giving 5 at home. That's a 227.5 game total there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely some really good game environments. Utah, Washington. We're going to get into it. That is the most popular game of the day. And it's from one side specific. I mean, it is. The ownership on the Utah side is crazy, kind of like we anticipated. Philly, Indiana is obviously a good matchup. The total on the rise. Philly could potentially be really shorthanded here. Tobias Harris did not go through shoot around this morning. And I don't know if you saw, so there's conflicting reports on Marcus Morris here. Marcus Morris, even on the 4:30 p.m. injury report, is listed probable. But Marcus Morris himself broke the news this morning that he's probably not going to play. So per the 4:30 injury report, Philly has him listed probable. Per Marcus Morris is looking a little doubtful. So we'll see what's going on with Philly. They're already down Mo Bamba, Covington, Melton. Like, they're shorthanded to begin with. Possibly no Tobias Harris. Possibly what seems like trending towards no Marcus Morris. So that should be a fun game for a Joel Embiid encore when they're shorthanded. Like, it's like, oh, well, Joel, you actually now have less.
And we talked about some value that's on that team and on a slate where there really wasn't a ton of great value given the injury information we had at our disposal. Certainly could find now ourselves not only just playing Joel Embiid, but playing some of the cheaper options that are around him as well to fit him into those lineups here. We appreciate you all tuning in. If you haven't already hit that like button, please do so. It helps us out a lot. Get us known on the YouTube algorithms, of course. I don't know why you haven't hit the subscribe button already either. We go live every day at 5 o'clock Eastern time, breaking down the NBA DFS slate. We do a morning show as well. It gets released the night before, so you can all prep and get your first look at this slate. And we update you on all the news and happenings throughout the day right here every day, 5 o'clock Eastern time. Let's take a look at the point guard position because there's going to be a couple of value guys we are going to talk about as well. But looking at the top, we got Curry here. They did win by a blowout last night. Curry still getting through 31 minutes in that game, 25 actual points. That was their first game since, the tragic passing of their assistant coach. He's $9,300. Sacramento, De'Aaron Fox at $9K, just below him. We know this game is a high game total, close spread. Fox has dominated this matchup this season. If you're kind of looking at just this game, in a funnel, if you had to pick one guard to play today, which way are you going?
Probably the De'Aaron Fox side. He's not the one on the back-to-back. And he's just been so good in this match. Not to say Curry hasn't been. I just obviously prefer the fresher legs of the two guys here. Fox has been equally as good on the road as he has been at home. He's taken a clear backseat in terms of fantasy production to Domantas Sabonis on his own team. Like, that's become more evident as the season has progressed. But he's still a really elite fantasy producer on the year. So I lean Fox over Curry. I also think just with the way we've seen Curry's minutes, there's just a natural higher minute ceiling for De'Aaron Fox. We Fox play 40 minutes twice in his last 4 games. I don't think Steph Curry.
He's got a couple 40s and 37s back in December, but lately 35 seems to be the most we've gotten out of him here. Now, no Chris Paul, no Moses Moody. There's some shortened rotation, so maybe there's a room for more minutes if that game wasn't a 23-point blowout, 21-point blowout, whatever the math that I can't do on the fly is. Maybe he plays more than 31 minutes there. So, but I'm probably with you. I do like Steph Curry tonight. I got a couple of prop bets out on him. Go check out my underdog or sleeper or RT video here today. Curry's assist total at 5.5 is something that I'm targeting here. Gone over that total now in 4 straight games. Now Chris Paul is averaging over 7 assists the last 5 games without Chris Paul. So kind of liking that number. Also did a first 3-pointer of the game prop with him at plus 425. He knocked down the first 3. We're cashing some checks. So we'll see if Curry can come through for us there. 8K tier, Jalen Brunson, Jamal Murray, Tyrese Maxey, Anthony Edwards. Again, some elite pricing on a few of these guys.
Sure. Just the note on the Curry minutes, the 2 games that he hit 40 were both overtime games. So that is that. I think you can play any of these next tier. It's just are they the best per dollar plays? Jalen Brunson has been amazing, undoubtedly amazing in basically every category you can hope for. It's a really slow paced game with 2 really elite defenses. You can get there if you want in tournaments. It'll be contrarian. Same thing goes for Jamal Murray coming off 50. Everyone's going to play Joel Embiid. That's a obvious reason as to why, like in tournaments, you'd want to pivot to someone like Tyrese Maxey, who has been a fantasy darling for us from the start of the year. Obviously, the last 2 games he's ceded to Embiid, but like, how about the 2 games prior where he has 50 bombs in both, right? So you can definitely pivot to Maxey if you want. Definitely interested in Anthony Edwards. I'm surprised to see Mike Conley with an actual illness designation. I just figured it was one of those like, then now that's the second straight back-to-back we've seen Mike Conley sit at least 1 game in. So it's like, list him as an illness, and it's, I guess potentially still could be. But he's missed back-to-back games with this illness now. You know, maybe if he misses a third, I would definitely have interest in Edwards.
I mean, why did he lose? Why did he lose $300 off his price tag after? And I get it. This slate came out before the games played, but you know what about the algorithms? Given these productions, boosted him to $8,700 yesterday. Anyways, I would imagine probably the Washington matchup, but then he went back down to 84 and he goes for 38 actual there. So yeah, great price point for him. Kobe White obviously continues to perform really well. Zach LaVine trade rumors are percolating yet again. White going 26, 10, and 9 and near triple-double there against Phoenix. Gets a Lakers matchup. Should be a pretty good spot for him here, given the amount of minutes D'Angelo Russell is now playing. Russell not the greatest defensive guard by any stretch of the imagination here.
I would have a hard time believing D'Angelo Russell guards Kobe White once in like one singular possession.
He's just running around on Alex Caruso all game, you think?
Dude, yeah, that's. I went back and I actually, because I was curious on this as well, and they just put Russell on. Like I watched a Dallas where he stood in the corner against Tim Hardaway, or he guarded. Who did they just play? It just never, like, Kobe White's just too good of an offensive player for him. I will say, in terms of like Kobe White and the 3-ball, the Lakers allow the most 3-point made shots to opponents this year. Chicago is actually allows the second most, so this should be a 3-point affair. I like Kobe White in tournaments. It's a really good pace of spot for the Bulls. 7,600 is a good price. Now, like triple-double, not saying that's like always in the cards, but we did see this with LaVine earlier in the year, right? LaVine out, and Kobe White was I know, like, you were talking about his PRA every slate. Like, it was like something that he was hitting for a month straight because he was like mini LaVine light. So I'm good getting to Kobe White 76. I think it's a very fine play, kind of in all formats, and the field's like not really seeing that. 11% ownership on Kobe White is a little surprising. I know it's hard to get to Kobe White when the whole guard position is filled up with Utah guys, but
and obviously our guy Cam the Man says spoiled to have Sexton and Embiid on the same slate. I mean, Colin Sexton's right here. 24 minutes because of the blowout there, still give you 22 actual points. Seeing what he's done recently, 27-30, 31-28 when he's had the chance to either be winning a game or in a competitive game here. Now they got the Wizards' big point total here. Obviously, they are big favorites as well, but there's no way we go away from Colin Sexton right here.
The only thing you go away from is because he's the highest rostered player of the slate, and you just pivot to something that we talked about last night, like Jordan Clarkson's lower owned. But like, you don't even need to do that. You can play them both. I would say you just plug Colin Sexton until he's priced appropriately, and then even then, if he's still playing well, I mean, you might play him at that point too. We've talked about this a couple times. This guy averaged like 23 points a game for an entire year in Cleveland.
Yeah,
before he was just shipped off because they had Garland. Yeah, I mean, this is like not. I mean, I would say the efficiency is a little surprising because he's being crazy efficient. Almost a 50% shooter on the year. He's entering 50-40-90 splits.
He is a 47% for his career guy, so it's not like he's always been like a poor. He's not Russell Westbrook, right? You know, 40%, 39%. But to your point, I mean, as a starter in Cleveland, he averaged 24 points a game. His third year in the league. So,
what about from three?
40%, 38%, 37% his first 3 years in Cleveland. Fell off the year he got injured. But the last year, 39%. This year, 38%. So he's always been around a 40% 3-point shooter.
Okay, so we're hovering around the same marks. Last 4 games, 55% from the field, 52% from 3. Like just hitting every shot he takes. So really good to see him getting the run. And again, point guard, shooting guard eligible. Cam the man just gets us, right? Embiid
The dude
and Sean
shows up,
Sexton,
he
like, we're
watches
just
the
plugging
show,
him
he
every
knows where we're
slate.
at, right? So we appreciate all of you who do return each day to pop in here. And if you guys got any questions, you want to throw some comments in the chat, like I said, we welcome them. We'll answer them. We'll answer your betting questions. We'll answer your DFS lineup questions. We're looking at the DraftKings slate, but if you play on FanDuel, throw those questions our way as well. We do not discriminate here when it comes to the breaking down of this slate. You know, we skipped over, obviously, D'Angelo Russell. I imagine he'd still be somebody you'd play here tonight, or is it only if there's no LeBron or AD?
I mean, like, if one of them are out, it's hard not to play Russell with how good he's been. 7K, 35 fantasy points. Like, he is still like a solidly high usage rate type of guy. It's just obviously not as appealing. He's a 0.97 fantasy point per minute guy when he shares the floor with LeBron and Anthony Davis this year. So right around a fantasy point per minute. If he plays 34 minutes, 34 fantasy points is what you project him at essentially. It's fine, right? It's not like it doesn't move the needle for me. 20% usage rate. Again, fine. It's just hard, I would say, to have games like he's had when both are healthy. Now he has played well with them as well, because he re-entered the starting lineup 6 games ago, and 5 of the 6 he scored 20 plus actual. LeBron's missed 2 of them. The other 4,
you got a 60
LeBron
without LeBron. You got a 50 without LeBron. We got 54 here against Portland. So, very capable of popping off there if someone was to miss some time this evening. Andrew, we'll get to this. We don't know what to do with Brooklyn half the time, but obviously there is a value point guard that we'll talk about here on this site. I think there's 2. One that's getting all the love, a lot of the rostership here early on, and then we'll discuss another one that might be maybe a little bit sneaky on this slate. Working our way down this list, got Tyus here at 65. We got the Celtics guards, Podziemski, Poole, Monk. What's your thoughts on the 6K tier?
Both Boston guys are fine. We saw the point guard position really bite Miami in the ass last night. Scottie Pippen Jr. and Jacob Gilyard really played well against them. Their perimeter defense did get a little better with Terry Rozier, but they still have to account for Tyler Hero, who's a very bad perimeter defender. So if you want to play Derek White or Drew Holiday, take a flyer, you can. They're just definitively the 4th and 5th options with Boston healthy. Like there's going to be games where they're really solid, but like on a night where the Boston's just a fully healthy team, I don't have like the desire to like play Derek White at the same price as Colin Sexton personally, or Drew Holiday at the same price as like Jordan Clarkson's. So, it's fine. I do think Tyus Jones could be is in an interesting bounce back spot. Washington not nearly getting as much love in terms of ownership on this slate. Hey, they're still involved in the game that has a 240 total. It's not just Utah that's involved in a game with a near 250 total. Washington is as well. And Tyus Jones has had like some really big games lately. We know he's been this kind of guy. Every time John Morant was out for the last how many years, it was like, let's plug Tyus. Even with
he has a game where he has just
Jackson
2 points, but he gives you 15 assists, right? So like if they're going to be knocking down some shots, he can kind of do it either way. If they need him to make some shots, he's shown he can do it. If they don't need him to make the shots, he's shown he can dish it out. A much better matchup for him tonight than obviously against Minnesota here. So, interesting spot that I don't think anyone's going to really touch there. You got Monk here at 6K. Yeah, I imagine someone that we've gone back and forth to. Now, the price is obviously has fluctuated a bit, but we were playing him 65, 64. Now he's on to 6K. Any reason not to go back to the well here?
I'm just shocked he's getting this much ownership. He's getting a lot. Over 20% ownership tonight is kind of surprising. Just considering nobody really ever clicks Malik Monk outside of FanDuel players because Malik Monk was always underpriced over there. The minutes have kind of been down the last couple games because Harrison Barnes. That's always the thing with I'd say Malik Monk. Like if Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter play well, there's always a chance that Malik Monk loses a few minutes, right? I'm not saying he will because Malik Monk also has an incredibly high ceiling and is a really good fantasy point per minute guy. I'm just saying there's always that possibility where Kevin Huerter comes out, hits 4 threes, Harrison Barnes does what he did last game, and then you're sitting in these mid 20s minutes for Monk instead of the 30s. He's still operating as the team's backup point guard and backup shooting guard. Like that hasn't changed. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I know why the field's getting there. I'm just surprised to actually see him getting the respect.
Moving our way down under the 6K range, we got Nembhard here at 53, McConnell 54. Nembhard starts. McConnell did get over 20 minutes there the other night. We have Caruso. You know he's going to play a lot of minutes at $5,100. You've been higher on Sumo lately. Chris Dunn is getting the ownership I alluded to earlier, but I think Pat Bev needs to be in this conversation now as well, given all the injuries that they have.
Yes. Let's sift through that. Chris Dunn, obvious chalk. Very wide range of minute outcome for Chris Dunn. Pretty good fantasy point per minute guy. I'm okay getting there. We don't know. Chris Dunn always feels like the first guy that would get taken off the floor for Utah. Like Sexton's minutes seem secure. Markkanen's minutes seem secure. Fontecchio's minutes seem secure. Chris Dunn and John Collins do not seem secure in like much capacity for me. Like if Chris Dunn gets an early foul trouble, I have no confidence he comes back and plays like starters minutes. So there's always that, but he is a good fantasy point per minute guy. I like Dosunmu. He's going to play off the Bulls bench. He's basically their main guy off the bench. He's going to split time between both guard positions, and sometimes they go 3 guards and play him over Pat Will, even though both guys played over 30 minutes last game. I agree on the Pat Beverly front. He's not on the injury report, unlike everyone else on their team. The only other thing I'd say is I believe Jaden Springer is supposed to come back. We saw Jaden Springer like crack the rotation at times. Maybe he takes time from Pat Beverly. I obviously think Pat Beverly is the guy to get the first crack. I obviously think there is a
I've fallen into the Jaden Springer trap before. He didn't play a minute.
Agreed. He did not play a minute. He didn't play a minute, and then the next game they listed him with an ankle injury. So you're like, oh, so there's why wasn't he listed to begin? And that circles back to the beginning of the show where Marcus Morris is listed probable, but Marcus Morris himself is like, probably not going to play today. Dude, I mean, it seems that way. Thankfully, we're going to know. Philly, 6:30, they're the first game. Like, we're going to get their starting lineup 6:30. We're going to get their inactive 6:30. If this is a 10:30 game, I would be so sad, and I would be bald by the end of the night, scratching my head, like trying to figure out who the hell's playing.
I just like the minutes. The last 4 games, 27, 29, 27, 28. Now there's no Toby, no Morris, no Melton still. Like, there's a really good chance that he plays.
Potentially none of those. True. Potentially none of those guys.
Does Pat Bev hurt the Batum value? Listen, no, I don't. Batum should start anyways. We're kind of envisioning a potential starting lineup if Toby ends up being ruled out here tonight, where it's Maxey, it's Batum, it's Oubre, it's Embiid, and then House.
It's either Daniel House or
Patrick Beverly is what we were talking about this morning. So, and I don't want to play Daniel House. I would much rather play Patrick Beverly if I had to pick one. So, because you have the defense, and there are random days where he kind of is the point guard and Maxey plays the 2, and he can fill up your stat sheet. So I like Patrick Beverly tonight as a little bit of a pivot off of some of these other guys. Dunn is getting all the ownership. I don't want to play Chris Dunn at 3,900. I don't know. I get it. Why? I get he's 3,900, but him and Kelly Olynyk for whatever reason right now are getting a lot of love here. Maybe they're expecting blowout run. What's your take on that?
nothing much to add
Sure.
to the take already, but I just think that he's starting point guard with point guard or starting player
Sure.
with very good eligibility and has
Fair enough.
27
Moving on over
minutes.
to the shooting guard position, Jaylen Brown's $8,300. We talked Rozier's coming off the bench, or he did at least come off the bench in his debut. We'll see if that continues or not. Mikal Bridges is here at $7,200, and a lot of guys we've discussed. Klay Thompson had a pretty big game last night. Then Jordan Clarkson would, I guess, be your pivot off of Sexton a little bit if you wanted to save a little ownership there. How are we looking at this top tier shooting guard position?
I'm not. I mean, Edwards, obviously, you could play. You could play Jaylen Brown. He's had a lot of really big games of late. 641 plus fantasy point games in his last 8, including 3 over 50. So you could play him. Good eligibility. Probably can't touch Rozier if he's going to come off the bench. Mikal 72 is fine. He's shown a massive ceiling lately, but obviously a tougher matchup with his Minnesota pace down spot. Hero 1,600 is a good price. The minutes were great. Don't love the fantasy production lately, but this is the cheapest he's been since the 3rd slate of the year. So if you want to play Tyler Hero based on price, you can, but back to back, Are you playing him over Sexton or Klay or Clarkson?
Right. Moving down into the mid-tier range here. Again, a lot of guys we've discussed already. Anybody that we haven't talked about that is on your radar tonight?
We didn't really break down the Indiana point guard situation.
Yeah.
I know you just kind of like you talked about, and I just skipped over. I didn't mean to skip over it, but they're both fine. Like more last piece in for me. I like the minutes from Nembhard last game. The production was fine too. It's just like he doesn't really flash that high of a ceiling unless McConnell's out. We saw McConnell and Halliburton out, and we saw last year, and we saw Nembhard have that triple double against the Lakers where he scored like 30 actual and broke the slate. So like they're gonna split time. You could play either. I don't have many strong opinions on much down here. Like Matherin for tournaments, Caldwell Pope you can play. He seems pretty safe. Caruso, have to like the Caruso minutes late last game against Phoenix 33. He always plays bigger minutes when there is like definitive star on other side of game and when he can stay healthy.
He won't be guarding LeBron, but he'll be all over D'Angelo Russell here this evening.
He'll be everywhere. He'll be switched on to literally probably Anthony Davis at times in this game, kind of like how Boston does with Drew Holiday, where you see Drew Holiday guarding Jokic for like 10 straight possessions.
I don't want to skim by Kelly Oubre. I think without Tobias Harris, there's a good potential for him to maybe have a ceiling minutes game here. And I know it's hard with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey to find shots, but like Tobias Harris was finding a lot of success as that third man. You know, if you're not looking at a starting lineup that's going to have Batum and Daniel House, you know, there's a good chance that Kelly Oubre is a guy taking the third shots here on this offense.
Yeah. I don't have like much of an issue with it considering Toby is like definitively the third guy on a nightly basis and that third guy that can get you 20, right? Like we've seen Toby on a couple situations have like big games.
If we get this right here, like this
I wouldn't say
run, 26, 31, 31. Obviously, the 24 actual here against Utah, probably a bit much to ask, but you know, I think there's I know some of those games were out Joel Embiid as well. I think there's some potential there, just knowing who's not going to be in their lineup for Oubre.
So there's a 50-minute sample or so. Where he shared the floor with Embiid and Maxey and has been sans D'Anthony Melton and Tobias Harris. And he's at 14%.
Well, I think most people are going to feel that way without when Joel Embiid's on the floor, though. I can't imagine there's many that have high usage rates in those situations.
No, well, I know, but that is a talking point. Like,
yeah,
I don't disagree.
Maybe. I don't know. I would expect him to be better than point. What'd you say? 0.6. Yeah.
0.6 points, 14%. Yeah. I mean, it's a small sample. It's a small
plus it's Pacers, right? Pace up spot. total, all those things.
Yep.
All right, we're going our way down. Matherin's there at 5K. You mentioned KCP last night as maybe a value spot to walk into. If there's no Conley, NEW's here again at $4,500 against Brooklyn. Thoughts as we look at some value shooting guards?
I feel like I'm getting priced out of the NAW territory, but maybe I'm the only one there. 4,500 is $1,000 cheaper or more expensive than he was 2 slates ago. It just doesn't seem like there's any more shots to be had. The peripheral stats were fine last game. They were actually really good. The scoring didn't follow up. So I'm kind of getting priced out of the 4,500 for NAW, but if there's no Conley, he's going to be popular. So at the end of the day, it probably wouldn't hurt to have him in your lineup because he's going to be super popular if and when
Dwayne's saying it feels like it could be a low scoring slate. I mean, it could be. There are a couple of games at high game totals here, but knowing that you kind of have to jam in some of these value plays to spend up, maybe those value plays do cause and result for a lower overall total. It doesn't matter if Joel Embiid goes for 100 though, because then he just makes up for half that score. So we'll see how that all plays itself out. Small forward. You got obviously a couple guys with dual positional eligibility with Jason Tatum and LeBron James. I have no problem playing either of those two here this evening. I really like the LeBron James price. If I could hold out long enough to know if he was playing or not, I would like to think he'd place tonight at $9,200 against the Bulls, but certainly would need to save yourself some room to make some pivots. And there's plenty of pivots in that game if you need to do so. So you could just make that work. Lauri Markkanen, though, was the cover of today's show for a reason. This is a great spot for him here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he's their best player, their leading scorer, their leading fantasy point per minute guy. 1.3 fantasy points per minute on the year. Other than like blowouts, he's really hit his stride and a tough spot in Houston. So it's hard to not want to get to Markkanen small forward, power forward, 60 fantasy point upside at his lowest price tag since all year. This is the cheapest he's been.
Yeah, agreed. Again, we don't. The pricing differences on these are just hilarious sometimes because we've been smashing him at higher costs and he's been paying it off no problem. Dwayne's saying Monk feels solid. Yeah, I like it. I like Monk as the value play here tonight. Butler, DeRozan, obviously a great spot for DeMar DeRozan. Speaking of potential pivot down, if you just plugged LeBron and you could save $2,000 to play DeMar DeRozan tonight, he's certainly fitting some builds. MPJ 63, Clay in this range. Any interest here in the 7 and 6K tier?
Yes, on DeRozan for sure. Very solid play. 50 fantasy points against him last time. No on MPJ. You can play him in tournaments, but not a strong feel. I would say Denny Avdia would be the one guy that I would get to other than...
Denny's in a good spot here. We talked about that last night. 41 fantasy points in tough spot against Memphis. He did it, San Antonio got to deal with Wemby in a competitive game, 32 there. 54 against Atlanta. He has some pop spots, 49 against Knicks in a tough spot. So Utah, you would assume maybe a little bit of a better matchup for him to get his offense going. We like the shot attempts here. I'm in agreement with you. I do like the Denny 61. Wiggins started last night. Any interest in like Wiggins, Cam J, this range in 5K?
No, not Wiggins. I mean, you can play Wiggins in tournaments. Cam J, it seems like there's just a cap on his minutes. I do want to. It is interesting to see what Washington's minutes end up being. Second leg of a back-to-back, but new coach today. So Wes Unseld moving to the into the front office and career assistant taking over. Interesting to see because we've seen it's been kind of sketchy with the minutes sometimes for Washington, even in competitive games where they've like kind of limited guys. And it's been interesting because the rest of the league has not done that. The rest of the league, other than Golden State or Washington, has played everybody more. So maybe we'll start seeing higher ceilings on minutes. Someone like Denny just playing big.
Yeah, I mean, we've been crying for big minutes for Denny for a little bit here. We'll talk about the center position in Washington in a little bit. All right, so 5K range, not really a ton for you. Was there any value at small forward that you like? Josh Hart, Torian Prince in this range, Pat Will, Harrison Barnes coming off of a monster spot, or a guy Fontecchio is down here as well.
Neesmith, I think 4,600. I know Jalen Smith was just deemed active, but I'm unsure what that's going to do for Neesmith anymore. Like, they have Neesmith starting at the 3, they have Pascal Siakam at the 4, Turner at the 5. I feel like Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson are going to play like backup roulette at the 5, and we see Neesmith all the time when they need an elite on-ball defender. He just extends his minutes to 30. He's going to get the Tyrese Maxey matchup today. So I could see a scenario where Neesmith tops 30 minutes again. I like the price going down. I do like Patrick Williams. They left him out there in a competitive game for 32 minutes. He was super productive again. 3 or 4 games where he's been over 23 fantasy points. Not a like massive ceiling, but this is a really good pace up spot for the Bulls. The Lakers are top 5 in pace in the month of January, so I like Pat Will. Not going to the Harrison Barnes well. I know there's like revenge narrative. For all those that are listening for the first time, I literally don't care about revenge narratives. They don't mean anything to me. Like, Harrison Barnes won a title in Golden State. I'm sorry if you're salty about
10
that,
years
like
ago.
Harrison, but 10 years ago. So yeah, I mean, like, that doesn't like necessarily matter to me. All roads lead back to Simone, though. Simone has been really, really good. The minutes have been really, really secure of late. Just loses run on blowouts, like every other member of the Utah Jazz, right? They've been in blowouts a lot lately. When they haven't been in blowouts, it's mainly been 29 plus minutes, with the exception of an 0 for 5. But Washington is bottom 10 against 3-point shooters this year. Simone looking really good. He's one of my first plug and plays of the slate. And then obviously the Lakers guys are here at small forward as well. We don't know what the statuses are, but Torian Prince, Rui Hachimura become more viable if we do find out.
Harris remains questionable with an illness. Thanks for the update for nothing.
Philly is terrible. They are just so bad. We're not going to know until 6:30. That's just it. May be like 6:58.
Yeah,
late scratch.
We'll see how that ends up going here or not. Power forward. What are your thoughts up here?
I like AD. Well, we'll talk about AD at center. You can play Randall. I feel the same way about Randall as I did about Brunson. Like, you can play him in tournaments. Don't have like a strong conviction there. Towns had a really good game yesterday against Washington. There's a chance he has a really good game here against Brooklyn. But the price is going up on Towns. So if you want to get there, by all means, do it. Not a strong take on Porzingis. And then we hit the 7K tier. I think Kyle Kuzma is a great tournament play. He is their best player. He's their best player from a fantasy point per minute perspective. And again, Washington is like, hand up. We are also in a game with a 246 total. Washington is also getting no ownership at all. And it's not like this spread is 12 points or 15 points, or it's not like Utah is a good road team, because they're not. They're a bad road team. They've objectively been a bad road team all year. They're number 1 in pace, which is faster than Washington during the month of January. And Kyle Kuzma is 10% rostered for a guy that, almost triple-doubled last night and hasn't really shot the ball well last night. And we've seen Kyle Kuzma have 38 points in a game on multiple occasions this year. So I have a pretty strong conviction on Kuzma today.
There's a 8x ceiling. 8 feels strong. Maybe 7x ceiling here. 50, 55, 56 fantasy points, whatever that math comes out to.
He's gone for 60. He's gone for 60 like 4 times this year. So, like, I'm not saying he will definitively go for 60, but like, he's the one guy that has the highest minute ceiling on this team. He's also the guy who just has, I think, the highest fantasy point output ceiling. So, and he's been over 8K for 6 straight slates. And again, another guy that's now suddenly under 8K after playing yesterday. I mean, where
are we on Pascal Siakam at $7,100?
He's too cheap. I don't have not much else. Like, he's too cheap. He fits this system. He finally had a practice yesterday. Yeah, I would like it to be against a different team. But like Batum,
yeah, feels like a better
House.
matchup for him wing wise, right? Like maybe he draws some Oubre. Like I don't know, but you know, does
Oubre,
Pat Bev
backup
just
center.
guard
Like,
him? Like I don't know. Like
he's been playing the 5. That means, like, what if Paul Reed is
sure.
on the floor at the time that they go to Siakam at the 5? Like, there's a lot of good things that can
And
happen.
at 7K, you only need 35
Um,
fantasy points for
7,100.
5X, which is like had been a bad game for him when he was up over 8K. Now it's within reason. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
I'm with you there at $7,100. Feels pretty good. Again, I like Michael Porter Jr. at $6,300 here. I think the price is nice for him. He can spread the floor. Keegan Murray, another guy, you know, hasn't shot the ball, you know, well against the Warriors, as we pointed out, but he's not a 16% 3-point shooter. So, you know, maybe he gets that going a little bit more here at $6,100. Kuminga, I was in on him yesterday, had him all over the playbook. Guy went 11 for 11 from the floor. I don't care if they don't start him. I think you got to plug Jonathan Kuminga into your lineups.
I still don't understand how he's like
Look at these
playing
games
every minute. I just don't understand it. I mean, we've been saying this since the beginning of the year. Entered the year as like definitively their 6th man, and then like fell out of the rotation and had the heart to heart with Kerr, and now he's just killing every time he steps on the floor. I think the rebounds have been amazing to see. 11 and 9 the last 2 games.
And maybe that's what Kerr told him. He's like, dude, you want to get on the floor? Do more than score. Right?
Yeah.
Like use your athleticism, use your size, be more of an asset because you're getting blocks and steals now. You're getting the rebounding. Like
it is
becoming a bit more of a complete player.
I do think it's maybe not coincidental that the last 2 games that he's had, and he obviously had 2 games prior to this too, but he's coming off the bench with Draymond. So small ball center Draymond lineups maybe require Jonathan Kuminga to be a little more active on the glass.
Sure.
And then we have 9 and 11 rebounds, right? So
and Draymond obviously a good facilitator, and the man's out here scoring buckets. So
yep.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I really like him at $5,800. OG's at 57. Aaron Gordon's had $5,600 for Aaron Gordon. Pick your day where he's going to rebound. He's got 3 games of 10 plus rebounds over the last 5. He's got a 1 rebound game against the Pacers, 6 against Philly here. The price feels too low for what he can give us. Does he give it to us tonight against the Knicks, though?
I don't know. There could potentially be a lot of missed shots in this game just with how good both teams are defensively.
Sure.
Aaron Gordon's
really have to deal with
really
Randall, right? For most of this game anyway.
Yeah, it's fine. Like the price is the most appealing thing I would think about Aaron Gordon right now.
Sure. Agreed. Yeah, just the double-digit rebounds puts him live for double-double bonus on DraftKings, and at $5,600, there aren't many guys that kind of give you that upside. There is Draymond Green right below him, 23 minutes for Draymond. I know we'd like to see him play more, but did fill out the stat sheet there once again. You got Wiggins, Saric, hit a couple of threes last night. Caleb Martin's down here. John Collins is someone that I saw a lot of people touting today on the prop world. How are you feeling about Collins at 5K tonight?
This is a weird one for me, because I've told you and we talked about it last slate where we thought there could potentially be a lineup change, and then there wasn't. In that game that they lose by 50, John Collins randomly checked back in the 4th quarter and played like 6 minutes of blowout run with the backups, with Agbaji, Talon Horton Tucker, Keontae George.
He's probably a guy that's on the chopping block potentially here.
That's my thinking as well. And I think that's what scares me, because Will Hardy is a psycho, a crazy person when it comes to like lineups. We couldn't figure things out for the first 3 months of the year because he was playing 10 guys every night, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody was playing 30. Everyone was playing 15 to 25. Collins is there is just such a wide range of outcomes. I don't really have like strong conviction. It's as good as you can get spot for centers, because it's Washington just bleeds points to opposing centers. But Walker Kessler is the better player. So
I was gonna say, if you're an organization, you traded Rudy Gobert and got basically Walker Kessler as the compensation as part of that deal. You should be playing him, right? And there was obviously the early reports early this season that John Collins was once again sort of on the outs and potentially being looked to be moved. And we are now a week and a half away from the trade deadline, so we'll be very curious to see where this is. But the matchup against the Wizards, one of the best for opposing centers as there is in the NBA. And again, a lot of the prop market today was over the points rebounds prop for John Collins today. I think it was like 20.5 versus PRA maybe was
21
even 20.5. So
20, 20. I saw it too. I took a look at it as well.
So people were high on that. You got Naz Reid, always live for a breakout game. We've discussed a few of these plays. Would you play Nick Batum tonight?
I guess it would probably depend at the expense of who.
Sure.
Like if you told me Naz Reid or Batum or Fontecchio because you already have a small forward and like now you're looking at power forward, then no.
Sure.
But if
Pat Will or Batum?
More confidence in Batum peripherally, more confidence in Williams scoring.
Nesmith or Batum?
Nesmith. If Morris and Tobias Harris are ruled out, I'd probably go Batum in that one. Just given, I think there's just Isaiah Hartenstein ruled out.
Yep.
For tonight. That is a really big problem. In terms of,
I have a ton of bets on the over rebounds on Nikola Jokic here this evening. So,
well, you also, there's going to be Nikola Jokic is going to bleed 7 times tonight from scratch marks from Precious Achiuwa. Oh boy,
scratch marks. Why is he a hacker?
Oh, dude,
Precious.
Oh well, dude, Jokic is the league leader in times games are stopped from bleeding. Like He just has cuts just everywhere on his arms, and he just bleeds. And Precious is like too little and too aggressive for you.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a problem. We're here at Precious. Would you play Precious Achiuwa? We assume the Knicks just roll the starting lineup with Jericho Sims, right? That's what they did last game.
I don't think so because of the matchup against Jokic here, but yeah, not my favorite spot for him. At that price, if he was 3,500, I'd give it more of a look, but not at 4,500.
He's just a good fantasy point per minute guy. He's not has not been a good. I said this to you last show. His defensive rating is higher than his offensive rating for his career.
Yeah.
Hasn't necessarily been a great fantasy or just real basketball player. It's probably just an avoid the spot entirely, but it's worth mentioning since that news just broke.
Agreed. Let's move to center, where there is Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, Anthony Davis, and Domantas Sabonis at the top. All three of those guys can go 60 plus. JoJo just went for 105. Obviously, our priority, I think, again tonight is Joel Embiid here. Has any of the news tonight shifted you one way or the other off that?
Obviously, the news we just got is very interesting. I don't know if it moves the needle because do I think Jokic can score 50 in a game? I do. Do I think Jokic can have a 50-point triple-double? I do. Do I think this is the pace environment for it? No. That doesn't necessarily matter for centers. I still lean Embiid, but it's not if you want to be a little different and play Jokic, I think that's fine. But it's really hard to ignore. It's really hard to just be yes, shorthanded Philly team, pace up spot, Embiid coming off, not even just the game. He's
averaging 68 fantasy points against them in 2 games anyway.
Just the season he's having and just being saving $300 right would be such a great pivot. I don't know. I still favor Embiid, especially if Toby and Marcus Morris are ruled out.
Okay, rank the next 3 then. Rank Joker, Davis, Sabonis.
Probably Jokic, Sabonis, Davis. And I'm not like putting Davis last because I don't think he's a good play. Jokic has the higher ceiling. He's done 63, 78, 69, triple doubles, yada, yada, yada. And if LeBron's active, like, obviously that limits Davis's like total ceiling. And then Sabonis, we pointed out last night, 3 triple doubles in his last 4 games, 52 plus fantasy points in all 4, and his price has gone down over that span. And there's 20 rebounds last game. He's second in the league in potential rebounds in the month of January. So I'll rank them Jokic, Sabonis, Davis. Like them all. You can get to them all.
Yep, that's fine. Move our way down. Randall, Bam, Towns, Porzingis, all up in that 8K range here. Any interest at all?
Only one I haven't talked about is Bam.
Yep.
Coming off a crazy game where, again, he struggles from the field, but has just the peripheral stats were kind of nuts. If you get to Bam, he'll be low owned. And I saw the winning lineups last night had Bam Adebayo in them at like 1% rostered. In theory, you look back, it's Memphis. This is definitely different.
Yeah.
Porzingis, good shot blocker, good rim protector. Conversely, Bam is that as well. But, if you land on Bam in tournaments, by all means, go for it.
Sure. Under them, you have Vucevic, you have Gobert, Claxton's at $6,900, Turner in tough spot, Gafford at $59, not a terrible spot if Gafford's able to stay on the floor. Any interest in the 7K range?
Vooch, very tournament dependent, like just tournament play. I never get this guy right. He's a very good rebounder. He's a good scorer. He's a very good passer as well. Just getting all 3 of those things at once is very hard to predict. So if you want to play Vooch in a tough matchup against Davis, you can. There's a ceiling. Gobert has a ceiling as well. 16 rebounds again last night. Anytime you get the blocks with Gobert, we're just in for a big night.
Sure.
The blocks plus the rebounds. 50 fantasy points. He's had a bunch of 45 plus lately, like 5 times in his last 7 games. So if you want to get to Gobert, that's fine. I keep mentioning Claxton. The minutes are super, super secure without Day'Ron Sharpe right now. They're continue to be that. And Gafford, I don't know. Like he unfortunately he fouled out in 21 minutes, and then we see Marvin Bagley go nuclear. It's like this is a new head coach. They sign it's a weird spot because they signed Gafford to an extension. This is a new head coach who has we have no idea how he views everything. And maybe he likes Bagley more than he likes Gafford, but the organization signed Gafford to an extension. Right. So it's a really tough situation. I wouldn't be surprised if Bagley continues to play the way he played, if they experiment with like different types of lineups where they're using both of them on the floor at the same time, where they're just full splitting for the 48 minutes at the center position. But your guess is as good as mine for either center. Walker Kessler getting the most ownership at center position.
Yeah. I don't blame that. We just talked about how great of a matchup it is for opposing centers. John Collins is there, but Kessler's been getting some minutes, played 25. The blocks are ridiculous. Has a double-digit rebounding upside. If he doesn't score a lot, you just have to accept that as part of the fact. But if he goes and gives you 5 blocks and 10 rebounds with the 6-7 points, he's going to pay off $4,900. What do we do with Bagley, though? Like, he's been ridiculously good in 3 of the 4 games because he's gotten that extended run for Washington here.
He was even good in the Denver game. He just didn't get the minutes to get extended. If you end up on Marvin Bagley, there's just a wide range of outcomes and with minutes. Gafford could be in foul trouble early, and you could see, and throughout the whole game, and you can see Marvin Bagley play 35 minutes tonight. So
I got Coop popping into the NBA chat. I don't think I've seen him in there all year.
Coop doesn't even know. Coop is lost for sure. Coop's had a couple beers already. For sure.
Coop. Football season is Sunday. You're up. And then Sean popping in the Russell Bird core 2 star because that's probably what Coop knows of the NBA there. So I'm just kidding aside. Obviously, Coop's in a dynasty basketball league. I know he knows what he's talking about. We'll talk. Happy to have you all in the chat with us this evening. If you haven't already hit the like button, as I said like 10 times throughout the show, do so. If you haven't subscribed already, I don't know what you're waiting for when it comes to that already. Coop's in dry January. That's true.
Okay.
That's true. Dry January for Coop. We were together watching football on Sunday. All right. Where else are we going at center here? Anybody?
We did have a question here from Andrew, Kuzma or Vooch. I lean Kuzma in that spot.
Sean answered, you Kuz or you lose.
Kuz or you lose. Funny, Sean, number one Kyle Kuzma hater, going with Kyle Kuzma. That's all you need to know.
Listen, I played Baker Mayfield more times than ever in the NFL this year. It paid off. So
that's true.
Sometimes you got to change the narrative on some of these.
No one rates Baker as high as you, John.
Not this year. He was so good until he wasn't. Really needed those 7 yards out of Chris Godwin last week. God damn it, Baker. I don't know. It's Sims, I guess. He's the starter, 4,200.
He is the starter. He did not close that game. Still played 27 minutes, just didn't close it. If you end up on Jericho Sims, you went
wrong somewhere.
It's something. That's a choice.
Hit the X button and start over.
There's just I would rather play Kelly Olynyk in potentially 14 to 17 minutes than I would Jericho Sims playing 28 minutes.
Okay.
We
did just get an ownership update about 10 minutes ago. We'll obviously have that updated on site. Nothing has really changed though. It is Utah, Joel Embiid to start off the ownership here for today. So not much has changed. A lot of people are playing the Utah Jazz against the Washington Wizards this evening. Your first Washington player is Denny Avdia, just over 13%. So that's where we're at. Let's build a lineup here. We can get to it. Where are we? We know where we're starting.
We're fading Utah.
Starting Joel Embiid. We got Fontecchio.
Sexton.
41. Sexton. Okay. Sexton shooting guard. What's the next plug? I think we tried this last night. We struggled to get Lauri in there.
We tried the Lauri play. The point guard position. We also didn't play Chris Dunn or a cheap. We didn't use Beverly, Dunn, Dosunmu, any of those cheap point guards.
Yeah, I think we actually played Io in this.
Yeah, we did. I think we did.
Are we going Beverly or Batum? This is where we talked last night. I think we landed on Beverly.
We can play Beverly.
Beverly. All right, 5,300 a forward and a util here.
5,300 a forward and a util.
Let's see.
Chris Dunn.
Do you really want to go the Dunn?
I think that there's a decent. He's a very good fantasy point per minute guy. We just don't it's just the unpredictability.
You think he's just losing minutes because of the blowouts there?
Foul trouble against OKC in that first game. He had 3 fouls in 4 minutes against SGA. 27 minutes in a competitive game against Utah. We see the fantasy production. 20 it's.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm just talking through the process there. So we got 4 Utah in our line, which is fine. Everybody's playing Utah anyways. We'll eat the chalk. That gives us a $6,700 utility player, which gives us in the range of Derek White, Tyus Jones on the other way coming back in that game. Yeah. If you wanted to, Clay, Porter, Podzinski, go another Utah guy, Clarkson, Denny coming back. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Washington is Washington's a bad team. Obviously a bad team. No doubting, bad team, not good. 7 wins on the year. They're going to trade half their team at the deadline. New coach, possibly new philosophies. Kevin Durant quoted as saying he's one of his favorite coaches of all time. The guy that's taken over as the interim. And again, they're in a 247 total at home. I'm good with Washington.
Tyus or Denny?
I think I'm good with either. You are the deciding factor. I probably would lean Denny, but I'm also good with Tyus if that's the direction you want to lean.
I feel like we've been getting a bit more consistent out of Tyus here.
Yeah, Tyus has been more consistent. Denny has had a solid ceiling, but so has Tyus. So I'm good with going Tyus Jones.
Right.
I'm updating ownership right now. So as soon as we get off the airwaves, it will be up on fantasyalarm.com.
If you had to pick Batum or AO,
Batum if we find out the Tobias Harris and the Tobias Harris news.
all right.
Mike Conley is a game time decision.
Would you do AO or NAW?
Probably Dosunmu has a really good spot. I'd probably go Dosunmu.
Okay. I was gonna see 6,800 didn't really get us. We were almost at Siakam, but it wasn't there if we went Batum there. Or NAW rather.
You can get Siakam by not playing Markkanen and playing Kuz.
I like that though. What do we
actually?
have
You can't. Actually, I don't think you can. I think you'll still be $100 off.
We had Tyus here. All right, so just an example lineup for everybody: Tyus Jones, Colin Sexton, Simone Fontecchio, Lauri Markkanen, Joel Embiid, Patrick Beverley, Chris Dunn, Nick Batum. We are stacking Philly versus Indy, stacking the Washington-Utah game. Again, you may see 4 Utah guys, thinks that's crazy, but the top 5 rostered players on the slate are all Utah against the Wizards tonight. So eat some chalk, play Joel Embiid, have some fun. We'll be back again live tomorrow night, 5 o'clock Eastern time. I think I'm on the playbook, so you can check that out as well. Enjoy your Thursday slates. Get to Sean in the Discord. His playbook is live. Good luck tonight. We'll catch you all later.